Well, hello there, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for yet another edition of the Creators Checkup. I have been doing this for about, I want to say, since 2020. For years, we've been going live on Fridays, usually to help you solve one specific problem, or actually several specific problems that might be affecting you as a creator. My name is Alan C. Paul. If you're new to it, we are now going live on Instagram. We have not gone live on Instagram for a long time because I don't know, I just kind of felt like the different platforms. We go live on YouTube, we go live on Facebook. No, I'm sorry. See, now I'm all mixed up. We don't do Facebook anymore because Facebook just was like really annoying and wasn't helping us at all. But I do see Pamela already joining us on Instagram. So that's awesome. See, I decided to go live on Instagram mainly because one of the subjects today really blew up, or I found it on Instagram. So I said, you know what, since I found this content on Instagram, I might as well go live on Instagram as well, along with our YouTube and our LinkedIn normal live streams, which we do via Riverside. So we're going to talk about all of these issues that are impacting creators who are faith centered. You're not necessarily serving in a church, maybe full time or part time, but you do have a faith centered, Christ centered background. And that means that everything you do as a creative should be filtered through that. And that's what we do here at God and Gigs. We already see Manuel from Worshiping Musician. A lot of our 360 members are joining us. So I'm going to jump into it now. Remember, if you're watching me on Instagram, you probably cannot see my screen, or you can't. So anything that you say, oh, wait, I couldn't hear that. I'm going to be doing some screen sharing today, playing some videos. So I already want you to be aware that the experience on Instagram is not like complete and might have some holes in it. Those who are watching a replay on YouTube and LinkedIn, at least you guys can comment later and you can respond to this. So just so you know kind of what I'm doing today, I will be doing some screen sharing. So I don't want you to be missing out on anything. In case you want to bounce over to YouTube or LinkedIn, it's very easy. Simply tap that link that goes to YouTube. And that, now be honest, I don't think it's in my Instagram bio. So you could probably just go to godandgigs.com/YouTube. That will take you there, or go to YouTube, search God and Gigs. Any of those methods will get you to this live stream so you can see my screen and you can participate that way. But let's get right into it. I always want to start with just a update on everything that we'll be talking about today. So let's go ahead and get that screen share ready. Been practicing getting back and forth between the different screens. So hopefully you guys appreciate that I am trying to be as get the flow down as well as I can. It's not always easy to be tapping around when you are your own. Oh, see, now I'm out of the screen. I make sure I'm in the screen. So let's do this to make sure I don't. That's a lot easier, so I won't be struggling. All right. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about. First, we're doing our news and notes. We always start with the news and notes. That kind of tells you what's going on in the community, as well as the stuff we're going to be talking about in our podcast recently, and some 360 creator spotlights. We have a new member. I can't wait to introduce you to her. Then today's vital signs is usually the thing that we focus on, is what I put in the thumbnail, so you know what the main topic of today will be. And today's main topic is the importance of trust and discretion when it comes to being a faith focused creator. This is a topic I've talked about for years. And when I saw my friend Jasmine Crumley share this tidbit and advice from her many years of working with top gospel, R&B, and music artists, and seeing what can happen when people don't exhibit integrity and trustworthiness and discretion, I said, okay, we gotta like amplify what she's talking about so that we can also help her to get the message out about her programs and what she shares. So we're going to talk about that today. Then we're going to get into some big news from Apple. Now, you may not be a podcaster, but if you are, this is something that blew up just this week, literally like 3 days ago, that Apple Podcast is including video. Why does that impact every single creator? Well, as you can tell, all of us, no matter what your area of expertise is, you're now considered a creator that should be doing video. And this is just one more example as I'm going literally to video right now for all of you. Now you're seeing that everybody's expected, or at least being pressured or feeling this intention that I should be doing video, even on Apple Podcasts. So we're going to talk about some tools that I use to make sure that I don't get overwhelmed by doing video, because as you can see, I've had to upgrade. I've had to get really good at doing some of the stuff. Let's see, technical issues. Pamela says screen froze. I'll hop on YouTube. Thanks. Yeah, I hope it's not my actual Instagram that's messing you up. But yeah, if you'd like to join me on YouTube, feel free. Anybody that's watching on Instagram, I see my friend over here, Veronica. Good to see you. Hopefully, you guys can hop over, by the way. If you can't see us on YouTube, it's always better, or LinkedIn. So we're going to talk about that. Then our consult today is always a little conversation, and I really like this one because Manuel, actually, you're on right now, I think, on Instagram, and we're going to talk about what you're doing. We're going to talk about people who are moving, who are going long distances, and I would like to know, how far would you be willing to travel for a opportunity, for a gig, for a even to move for good? Like, is there a thing that you're like, okay, God, please don't move me here. Please don't take me out of my comfort zone. Please don't take me out of this location. I would like to move here, but not move here. I would go for a gig. Like I have a gig right now that I'm working on for a friend who's it's a 4 hour drive. And I'm like, oh gosh, I really don't know if I want to do this gig because it's such a long distance. Some of you guys like to fly, some of you don't. So I'm going to talk about that. We're going to have some fun discussing that. And then finally, we'll get into our prescriptions. That is where I'll ask you to take that next step. And I have a special announcement that I just found out about, which will absolutely impact what I ask you to do next. Okay. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Want to do a quick shout out and thank you once again to LaShonda Brown and the Bootstrap Biz Advice Club, who had me on last week to talk about podcasting monetization. This was such a blessing for me to share with another creative community that literally has helped me build the channel that you are watching me on right now. LaShonda is my YouTube coach. She is my small biz coach. And she has been an absolute just I can't even say how influential she has been. Now, right now, she's traveling from, I think, Nashville to Des Moines. She's just presented at the international, no, national, I'm not sure what it's called, NRB, National Religious Broadcasters Convention. I had a lot of other friends that are over there as well. So now she is traveling and doing some speaking. But last week, I got to share it with her. Now, if you want to see this particular presentation on podcast monetization, you can join the Bootstrap Club. Hey, I'm a member too. I am always going to be a proponent of being a member of more than one community because every community serves a different purpose. God and Gigs serves the purpose of helping faith creatives to excel in every area of their creative lifestyles. Now, LaShonda's program helps business owners, service business providers to leverage tech to use YouTube and to work less and live more. See, I know when I work with her, I get that achieved. When I work in God and Gigs, I figure out ways to make my faith connect with my creative ability so I can excel in every area of my creative life. All those things help each other. So I would love for you guys to join us over there. And by the way, if you join her YouTube membership, you get access to this presentation. Speaking of presentations, this is new. So if you're watching me on YouTube or LinkedIn, I'm glad that you are here because this is literally going to be the exact same time next week. Next week on Friday, instead of a creator checkup, we will be doing our creator expert workshop. So if you're watching me on Instagram, I know you can't see my screen, but I'm showing a new workshop that we just booked. So what it is our new friend, Julie Riga. Now, Julie Riga is a leadership coach and strategist and small business expert. Why am I having a small business expert come in to talk to creators? Well, number one, she is a creator. She's going to tell you a little bit more about that. But number two, you guys in 360 asked me about time management. You said your number one struggle right now is using your time wisely to get all the things done that you needed to get done. And I was like, I need someone who's going to help you with time management and being more and more organized so you can get the work done that God has called you to do. Well, guess what? Just last week, we connected, and Julie's like, oh, by the way, I have an entire presentation prepared and ready on how to author your day. I was like, Lord, thank you. So, right now, we have just booked next week. And again, this means we won't have a creator checkup next week, specifically at 1 p.m. Instead, this will be our creator expert workshop, and that will be for our Creator Resource Center members, our gold subscriber members. And if you are not a member, you can join us for $10. Now, I would recommend that you upgrade. Don't just pay the $10, pay just $7 more, go up to $17, and get access to all of our workshops. Like, it's just $7 more. And as soon as you do that, you get access to this, and you get access to all of the other workshops that we have done over the last 2 years. So that's my recommendation. Want to make sure to jump on. Oh yeah, Manuel. Okay, I see you here. Yeah. I just finished to open up the chat. God is faithful. Yes, he is. I know that you were thinking about going to Florida as well, but God knows what he's doing. So yeah, I want to make sure that you're on later on. We're going to talk about how you're moving and how you're following God's leading in terms of your move. Okay, so as I was just saying, make sure that you get into this workshop. Those of you who are already members of God and Gigs 360, you get access to the live, you get access to the replay. If you're not a member of God and Gigs 360, you definitely want to go ahead and buy that single ticket. But I would suggest upgrade, go ahead and get all of the workshops for just $7 more. Okay. All right. Let's keep it moving because I have a lot of news and notes, but then we have a lot to talk about as well. New on the podcast. A lot of you have heard about the Bad Bunny situation with the whole Super Bowl show and all that kind of stuff. I tried to avoid it, but I had to talk about it because everybody seems to be talking about it, but we only wanted to talk about one issue. What can we learn from the Bad Bunny controversy? And I think I can tell you right now from the podcast, from last week's live stream, that the only thing that you need to worry about is the fact that it proves that you can have an impact. So we walked through that. We talked about why it's so important that you see not the content, not the whether he should have said this or said that, or whether he's a good example or a bad example, but that you have the same power, even if you are not a Super Bowl performer, to have an impact on your community. That is the big lesson. And I would love for you to listen to that. It's at godandgigs.com/374. Hopefully, you've already subscribed to the podcast, but if you haven't, all you got to do is to go to godandgigs.com/podcast, and you can see how to get that and all the rest of the podcasts we'll be sharing. All right, let's welcome all of our members of our 360 community and our newest member. So excited. I have to update this because there's so many new circles of people who have joined us in the last couple of weeks. We've had Wayne come in, and now I get to introduce another member, and her name is Wendy Coop. Why should Wendy Coop be a recognizable name for you? It's because she did our January workshop. I want to see real quick. Let's see if I can pull up without messing up anything. Because every time I do this, I end up accidentally um, opening or closing something, and I don't want to do that. But let's see if we can pull up Wendy's profile that she did. Let's see if she has a profile yet. Let's meet the members. Give me 1 second, and we're going to share something else. Let's see here. All right. So let's see if you guys can see this. There she is right there. I don't think she's had a chance to build her profile up yet, but she is right here. Now, what I can show you from Wendy's work with God and Gigs is her workshop, which is here inside the Creator Resource Center. So we go down here to spiritual and emotional health, and there's her workshop. So not only did Wendy join us and become a member of the same group that allows her to watch all of these, but I really can honestly say she is 100% what God and Gigs is all about. A lover of God, but someone who's incredibly creative and incredibly busy. She is in so many different areas, from a fitness trainer to being able to balance this with her Bible study channel, to being able to help people with websites and marketing. She's got it all. And I am so grateful that she doesn't only have her workshop here, but that she's also now a member of 360. So, welcome, Wendy. If you didn't see this or you see this on replay, please know that we are so happy to have you as a member of 360. All right, let's keep it moving because, like I said, I got many things to talk about. Let me jump back in real quick. Thanks for letting me give me time to switch around my screens. Appreciate that. And let me just tell you quickly how to join 360. You can either join as a Creator Resource Center member, as I mentioned. That's how you get the workshops that we're going to be doing next week. Or you can join as a Gold Mastermind member. We have a call on Monday where we'll be talking specifically to each one of our members about how they can grow. So if you want to get the kind of overview of the community and all the resources, join CRC. If you want to become a one on a few, just a few people group that are really getting intense on how to grow spiritually, financially, relationally, creatively, then you want to join Gold Mastermind. All right, looks like we're ready for our next thing. I got through all the news and notes. So let me go ahead and stop sharing for a second. I'm getting used to my little presentation practice here. Thank you guys for being whoa, so good to see on Instagram. Rich is there. Good to see you, brother. And I also think that's Kelly, Trumpet Fit. That might be Kelly. So if you're hanging out with us on Instagram, thank you guys for joining us. Remember, I cannot share my screen on Instagram though. So feel free to join us over on YouTube or on LinkedIn, my personal LinkedIn profile. And yep, this is Manuel right here. I wanted to go to Florida, not Hawaii, but God is faithful. Thank you so much, Manuel, for being willing to share your story so we can pray for you. If you hadn't shared that, we wouldn't be aware of like all the changes that God is doing in your life. But I am so grateful that you are a part of 360 and that we can share that with you. Okay, everybody, let me go ahead and jump into our first segment, which will be our vital signs. Give me 1 second. I always have trouble finding it because for some reason I cannot get around in my media. It's not showing up. I'm going to have to skip it in a second because this is frustrating. This is the one thing I don't like when it's like, why can't I find these things I need? This is definitely live, guys, because you can see that I am struggling to click anything. Do I have to make this full screen? There we go. My goodness. Sorry about that. All right, let's jump into this. All right. And by the way, the reason I do this is because when I go back and edit this, which I'll talk about on my video segment of how to make video easier, I'm in Riverside right now. And so what it allows me to do is it allows me to figure out exactly when I started this new segment. So that's why it's important that I do find my stingers and my different things. So everything in Riverside, we'll talk a little bit about that, how it makes it easier for me. So here's our stinger and here's our vital signs. So it has been so important over the course of my entire creative life to be someone that people trust. It's not the easiest thing, by the way, to keep yourself out of all of the back and forth of the relationships of people who don't like each other, creators who are kind of mad at each other at times, where people fall out and they don't want to like connect. And then, well, if you're a friend of this person, then you're not a friend of this person, and clicks. And I got to tell you, like, all of that is 100% true. It's a difficult thing to keep all of that together as a creative, to not get caught up in all of the issues when it comes to communities, when it comes to egos. All of that can get super complicated. And it can feel like, if you, especially as a follower of Jesus, as a faith focused creator, when you get into these moments of what should I say? Who's saying this? Is somebody bad mouthing this person? Is this particular gig, event, or performance, or interaction or collaboration going south? How do you handle it? Now, Valentine's Day just passed, so a lot of this might sound like relationship advice, right? But it's not just relationship advice for romantic It's relationship advice for relationships, period, for all creators. All of us, unless you are basically painting in a room where you never talk to anyone, you have to interact with other creators. You have to interact with your clients. You have to interact with those that you're serving, with audiences. There's always this interpersonal relationship building happening almost all the time as a creator. And one thing we don't seem to talk about enough is, how do you handle negative issues, negative feedback, negative problems that happen in your relationships? And then when you're asked by somebody, maybe someone that you're, very good friends with, what do you think of so and so? Give me a referral. Talk to me about this person. What do you think? These issues are not easy to deal with. And so when I saw a tremendous, tremendous friend, when I say friend, I don't mean that like we're good, good, good friends. What I mean is, I see her as a friend to creatives. I got to meet her. We got to connect a couple of times, but I am so impressed and so absolutely like in all of everything that this young lady, Jasmine Crumley, has done. And when she talked about this on a recent Instagram post, it like rang in my spirit. I said, okay, if she's dealing with this, and then I saw all of the comments that came along with that post, I was like, all right, it's not just me that feels this way. Clearly, this is something that struck a nerve. And if it struck a nerve with her and her followers, then it probably will strike a nerve with our community and our followers, because it is so clear that when things go south in relationships, it doesn't just affect you, it affects your entire community, it affects your career. And the way you handle it could affect whether or not you get to be in certain rooms and have certain opportunities. And probably just as importantly, whether certain relationships continue or whether they dissolve, and for the wrong reasons. So, what we're going to do is, those of you watching on Instagram, as I mentioned, you're not going to be able to see this, but I'm going to try to pull this up, and we're going to listen to Jasmine share something that she shared with her community and her Instagram. Let me just refresh it to make sure it starts from the beginning. Wait, wait, wait. All right. Let's see, I got this. I'm gonna make sure that you can hear it as well. So let's do share. Make sure you can hear audio. And if you're watching live, please let me know if you can see this. Did that pop up? Okay, looks like it popped up. All right. And then let me know if you get audio. If I have to do this twice, I'll do this twice just to make sure you can hear it and that it actually works. So let's make sure it's not muted. Here we go.
Important things I could ever tell you to do is that even if you didn't sign an NDA or a non disclosure agreement, act like you did. Protect the room. Whatever happens there stays there. Don't ever post unreleased music. Don't even post behind the scenes clips if you didn't get permission to do that. And you don't have to go around telling everybody who didn't do a good job in the session, or who didn't get on top of their parts, or who didn't do this or didn't do that. Mind your business, okay? Talking too much, oversharing causes a lack of trust, but discretion allows people to be able to trust you, and trust builds value. So learn to protect the space that you're in. Oh, and running your mouth too much will quietly get you blacklisted. We will not call you back.
Oh, okay. Ooh, let's get into this, my friend Jasmine. You literally hit the nail on the head. And here's what I really, 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 really want to make sure that you hear in her words. And those of you who are watching on Instagram, I know you didn't hear that last part. We're sharing a clip from Jasmine Crumley on why you need to have discretion when it comes to other people's comments, their actions, their reactions, their performance in performance and collaborations. So I'm going to go back to a blog post I wrote, and I shared this in my newsletter as well, the Creator Checkup newsletter, that I wrote about what to say to people when they ask you for referrals or recommendations and you don't have anything good to say or something went wrong. And here's the first problem with that whole question of, well, tell me about such and such. People count on your honesty as a creator. True? Your honesty as a creator, your value, your character, that comes first. So to be a person of character first implies if someone's asking you, they know you're going to be honest. If someone wants to know, hey, how did somebody perform? How did somebody think? What did you think of their performance? They want you to be honest, and they're asking you because they want you to be honest. But here's the other side of that. The other side of that is if you are simply trying to tell people, here are the facts. Here's what really happened. Here's what she or he did as a creator. And you are not giving them the full context, and they take your word as gospel. And then later on, that person finds out, hey, this person said that you were blank, blank, blank. You didn't do this or you didn't do that. How is the other person going to feel that they didn't have a chance to give the context? Okay. How do you make sure that you not only protect your image and your character, but you protect other people from what might be a assumption of something that they maybe didn't have anything to do with? Maybe the day that you saw them perform, they were really sick. Maybe the day that you caught them and a kind of like not doing the greatest job, that they were having a bad day. And that was the one time that you saw them. And you give your honest opinion, but your honest opinion was based on limited information. This is why the Bible is so clear about why we are careful, why we are slow to speak, that we're slow to anger, that we're slow. The only time the Bible says it's okay to be slow is in this kind of situation. When we are in places where there's information that goes out, and Jasmine just said it, there's so many people who have lost positions because they were not slow to speak or just refused to speak. Ecclesiastes. The thing I love about this platform is because when Jasmine is a believer and she can say all this scripture just like I can, she didn't choose to do it in this format because this was her public page. I am on God and Gig, so I can quote the scriptures that I know that Jasmine would have quoted as well because she's 100% a believer and 100% I know she would be agreeing with this. This is why I want to like amplify it. You go check out, I'll make sure to put a link to her Instagram post in this particular live stream. But when the Bible says in Ecclesiastes, there's a time to speak and a time to refrain from speaking. There's a time to refrain. Even if you're right, even if you have a legitimate concern about the way somebody did something. And what I feel in my local area, the reason why I have been able to work and not, for the most part, I feel like have people on, their bad side or be on people's bad side is because I try ultra hard in every single performance and interaction I have to leave the other person with no reason to doubt, no reason to question my loyalty, no reason to think that I was out to get them or that I was spying out for somebody else or trying to undermine them. I want to leave what the Bible says, no appearance of evil. I want to shun even the appearance that I would be two-faced, that I would be, hey, talking about behind this person's back about the way they play, about the way they sing, about the way they perform, about the way they write. And what Stephen Covey says in The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, he calls this being loyal to those absent. I read the seven habits of highly effective people, I think when I was 17, 18, maybe 19. And that phrase has stuck with me all of my life. Be loyal to those absent. And those who are absent are the people who cannot speak for themselves, even if you are in a situation where someone wants to know, well, what really happened? And here's I will be very honest with you guys right here. And I hope if you're watching live, feel free to comment if this has ever happened to you. When creators, musicians, artists get together, we talk. We do tell stories. Let me just be honest about that and make sure nobody thinks that I am acting like I am this angelic person that has never said something that happened to somebody else in public. I have. I am guilty of telling a story, trying to eliminate names, trying not to explain who did what, and then probably I still ended up talking about somebody. And I apologize from the bottom of my heart for that, because even in a joking manner, even in a humorous manner, I could still be guilty of bringing somebody down or making somebody look less than in someone's eyes because of the way I talked about their performance or their behavior. Now, I will say this, of course, publicly, if it's on video and people see it, I'm not the only person that's speaking about it. You've made it public. And so now it's kind of like open to critique. But I'm talking about private events or private conversations. I don't try to make those the subject of the story because of this very same issue. Who am I going to be loyal to at that moment? Am I going to be loyal to the people I'm talking to? Am I going to be loyal to the people who were in that room who are no longer able to defend themselves or talk about what happened? So in my blog post, I said it like this. If somebody asks you what really happened, who said this, how did this person perform? I would use phrases like this. I'm not sure. I have my own opinion, but I would rather you hear it for yourself. Give them a call, see what happens. I'm not yes or knowing anything about their performance or their behavior. I'm simply telling you, here's my experience, what I did and what I saw, period. Okay? I'm not giving value judgments. I'm not telling you not to hire or to hire. I am not saying anything about that specific person's attitude at all, unless that person, again, has public information that cannot be disputed. That's different. If someone has a public blowout and everybody saw the blowout, and then I say, yes, I saw the blowout too, well, then that's different because I am simply corroborating information that is not just me. But if it's a private conversation, if it's a private event or private moment that happened, it's not my place to give that and divulge that to somebody else. And again, being loyal to those absent mean I will go around and say, hey, if you want to see how they do, why don't you bring them in? Why don't you talk to them and I'll be there and we can talk and I can share our experience and that person can be there in the room. So anything that I cannot say directly to the person, directly to them, if somebody, I'll give a good example. If someone has trouble like with music reading and someone says, "Hey, is this person reading music?" Might be a simple answer. Well, no, they can't read music. I don't know that for sure though. Maybe they just had a struggle reading that day. So I would say to them, hey, I didn't see them reading music at that specific time. Why don't you call them and find out if they can read music? Let them answer for themselves. Don't put it on me to be the person that determines the veracity of this person's ability or performance because I'm not. I can only give you the information from a limited perspective. And I will make that super clear if I even start to talk about what somebody else did. And I will never do so if it was a private event or conversation that did not deserve to be out there. I hope that this made sense. Jasmine said it so well that I don't know if I even needed to add anything to it. But for those of you who are watching on Instagram, again, we're talking about Jasmine Crumley's last reel on protecting the room and why it's so important to have discretion and trust. In my book, I'll do this as a last conversation because I know we're going long. The last comment I have about this is on in my book, I talked about two types of trust in my section that's called Respect the Business. So it's SERVICE, that are the 7 steps of being a highly effective musician, a highly effective faith focused creator. And now the R stands for respect the business. So respect the business includes two types of trust. There is relational, emotional trust and performance trust. The relational and the emotional trust comes after the performance, after the collaboration, during the planning, during like everything that doesn't involve the actual performance itself is relational and emotional trust. That has to be built before there will be professional or performance trust in terms of how you'll interact with me while we're doing the thing. If we're doing a podcast together, we're performing together. If we're doing interaction in terms of writing together, we're editing together, we're writing a script together. All of that is the professional trust. But the professional trust is only built when there's relational and emotional trust. Kind of, you see, I don't know if you guys can hear, if I'm doing this for audio, you can't see my hands, but I'm kind of making circles where the inner circle is the relational trust, and outside of it is the performance or the professional trust. And you got to have the inner circle of the relational trust strong enough to support the outer circle of the performance trust. So if you trust me as a person, you will trust me more on stage or as a collaborator. But if you don't trust me as a person, you're not going to trust me in any professional environment, whether or not I'm really good at that. So, this is what I think I can at least add on to the conversation that Jasmine started, is that you have to build emotional and relational trust and equity and integrity into the relationship before you are trusted with the professional, the ability to interact and to connect and to be a good collaborative, creative partner. So I hope that all made sense. I hope that you now kind of see the reason why trust and discretion are so important in terms of how you interact with fellow creators, why it's okay to have your opinion about things, but not to share it in a way that gives other creators no chance to answer for themselves if, in fact, you have limited information on how they performed or how they interact. And always give the benefit of the doubt. And the Bible is so clear about judging. Judge not that you not be judged. It doesn't mean you can't have a judgment. It means that if you decide to make a judgment call, you are opening yourself up to the same kind of judgment. So I highly, highly recommend that you check out The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People if you want to read that chapter on being loyal to those absent. And my book, of course, God and Gigs, that chapter on respect the business. And I'll also make sure I link to any of our other blogs on that particular issue in the descriptions. All right, this was an awesome conversation. Let's now jump back and let's get into our lab work, because our lab work has to do with something that is affecting all of us right now, which is video. So let's go ahead and, oh, once again, oh, there it is. Perfect. Let's jump into that. All right. Now, this is some exciting stuff. Well, some people might think it's exciting, but some other people might think it's not really great. So, depending on what you think about video, that's what's going to determine whether or not you like this stuff. So, Apple Podcasts, Apple itself, I guess you could say, just came out with a huge announcement. And this huge announcement, if you are a podcaster, was something we kind of were waiting to see what would happen. But none of us expected. I didn't see any pundits, any gurus say, oh, this is coming. So no one kind of predicted that this was on the way. So Apple Podcasts just introduced and announced that they're going to be doing video. When I say video, they're going to be allowing video as part of their podcast app. Now, if you're not big into podcasting or not a podcaster, you might say, okay, what's the big deal? I watch YouTube podcasts. I think Spotify has video for podcasts. Like, no big deal. Well, it's a big deal for Apple users and it's a big deal for podcasters in general for this reason. Apple is creating this video component where not only can podcasters add video to their audio podcast, but where those things will be in sync. So if you stop watching the video, you can go to the audio and nothing changes. So you can basically pick up where you left off. Some people listen to YouTube podcasts, right? And then they'll switch, but obviously the video, they can't watch the video anymore. So they lose their place. Now, also big for Apple users is the fact that Apple is going to let people do ads inside of the podcast. Now, you've already heard this if you're a podcast user, but the way Apple is going to do it is hugely more, I guess, it's more innovative and it's going to make a lot more both interesting and lucrative possibilities available for different podcasters. So, all of this to say, how does this affect you? Maybe you're not a podcaster. Maybe you're not even concerned about this. What it does show, though, is that over and over again, video is becoming more and more important to every single creator, no matter what field you're in: music, podcasting, if you're into even writing, if you're an author, there's always this line where video has to be part of your workflow. It has to be part of your marketing. You can't get away from it. It's just something that everybody expects, that you're going to be doing some kind of video. I'm raising my hand right here to say I was one of the least likely to adopt video. I was so bent on podcasting as audio. I'm a musician. An audio person. I like music. I don't need to do music videos. I don't want to do podcast videos. I don't want to do any kind of videos. And here I am right now talking to you on a strictly video platform, whether it's LinkedIn. Obviously, I'm using LinkedIn video. I'm using YouTube video right now, and I'm using Instagram video all at the same time, using a tool that I'm about to talk about. So, my question to you is, and my encouragement to you is, are you overwhelmed by the idea of doing video in your own creative space? Does it make you feel like, oh my gosh, I have to add so many other things? Now I got to make sure I have my camera. Is my phone even good enough as a camera? Where do I edit? Do I need to edit? All of these questions come along with the idea of doing video. So what I want to show you right now is the fact that, first of all, kind of like to give you like something not to worry about and kind of calm you down. This does not mean you have to change everything about the way you do things. This does not mean that every single part of your workflow has to change to add video. I'm showing you, even as I'm doing this, that video can be easier. And there's only three things I added to my portfolio of content creation. I already had the mic. I already had kind of like my way of creating content. All I added was, honestly, the iPhone and a webcam. That's all I added. And software. One piece of software. So just adding something I already had, which was my iPhone, adding on a decent webcam, which I just upgraded. Hopefully, you guys like the look because I've upgraded the webcam. So hopefully, it's like, looks better and feels better to the eye, and you're more and more, connected with my production quality. But I haven't tried to do too much. So I added my iPhone, added the webcam, and I added software. That's it. Good to see, by the way. Let me pop in LaShonda Brown joining us on Instagram. We just talked about you, LaShonda. Congratulations on the NRB discussion that you did, the panel. And I'm sure you're either on the plane or on in the tarmac or wherever. Great to see you pop again. We talked about the bootstrap, the what you call the podcast monetization webinar, by the way. Sorry, guys. Mine went blank as soon as I was trying to remember everything else. So great to see you on Instagram. We're obviously over on YouTube as well, but she knows that because she literally helped us get on YouTube. So, as I was saying, this is a great point to make right now as I was talking to LaShonda, that video does not have to be so hard if you simply add the right elements at the right time. At this point, I've even spoken on panels about YouTube and about video. And I did this both at VidFest in Atlanta and at PodFest in Orlando. Both times I was explaining how I don't double my workload by adding video. I am very, very, very careful not to make it where I am doing so much work with video that I distract from the work that I'm doing. I'm trying to make it an addition, not a subtraction. So, how do I do that? First thing I just mentioned, simply adding simple tools. Just adding my webcam, turning it on, just adding my iPhone, making sure that I turned it on, and having a tool like Riverside, which I am now doing or using for all of my editing and my live streaming. Right now, I'm live streaming from Riverside. Now, first I was like, okay, that may be too much to add to one particular piece of software. But if you are a not even a podcaster, if you are simply creating content, if you're doing stuff for your music videos, if you're online, if you're live right now, if you're, thinking about going live and you're like, wait, I would love to go live to YouTube. Well, you can go YouTube live straight from your phone by using the app or by using Riverside, because Riverside has a mobile app. And like I said, one of the things that I was worried about was, is this one app going to mess up all of my other things? Am I going to be able to do things with Riverside that would actually work? And it turns out you can. Riverside can go live. Riverside can do the edits. Riverside can create the clips. So honestly, And this is not just a sales job for Riverside. I'm just telling you what's working for me right now is using one tool for as many things as possible so I don't get overwhelmed. So I'll give you, let me see right now. I can't show you Riverside, the back end, because I'm literally using it, but I can tell you, let me first, let's see here. I'll show you some of the things that I can literally change here that makes it easier. Um, I don't have the toolkit here. So I'm just going to pop up something here. So, like this particular thing right there, where I just popped up a bubble. This is the same thing that many other apps like Riverside, I'm sorry, like StreamYard can do. But the fact that it was already available, I was able to change my coloring so that it fits the same color, right? So I simply added the color. And then after that, all I did was just continue to use it as I was already using it. So let me see if I can get this in here just to make sure you guys can see where to get this. Literally just now, I just created that. Created my godandgeeks.com/Riverside bubble inside of Riverside so that I could quickly pop that up for you so that you can see where to go get it, where to go check it out. These are the kind of things that can be part of your workflow, and you do not have to feel like you have to change everything about what you do. So here's a couple more tips that have helped me add video without getting overwhelmed. Keep things as simple as possible in terms of your backdrop, in terms of the lighting. You don't need to buy a whole bunch of extra lights. The light you're seeing right now is one ring light and my window. Using your window, using natural light is a awesome way to avoid having to buy a bunch of camera lighting equipment. Now, should you get lighting equipment? Sure, but it depends on the room. Right now, I'm just using what I can. This is a very light room. The walls are very light, so I use the background and then try to work contrasting colors so that I stand out. Some very basic video tips can help you to avoid being overwhelmed. And by doing that, when and if you decide to add video to your repertoire, to add video to when you go live, if you just keep in mind of those three things: good audio, a good camera, which can be on your phone, something in the backdrop that's moving. As you can see, even now, all I did, honestly, from the last couple of days is I just kind of pivoted a little bit. I just wanted you guys to have a slightly different view so I wasn't always dead center. So I changed the view a little bit so that there will be like a little bit more of a kind of a change of perspective. And I'm kind of liking it, but it's just experimenting. Like I'm not a videographer. I'm not a camera operator. So I'm not going to do all the things to try to compete with YouTubers. I'm not. I'm just not going to do it. And you don't need to do that either. All you need to do is just look at what areas can I quickly add something where I can turn the camera on and capture it. And if you need to edit, Riverside does have an editor, which is again something I didn't use before. I stopped using my other editor because it was just like, okay, why am I adding more work unless I really, really, really need a video editor? Looks like we lost Instagram. Um, oh well, we'll have to survive. We'll survive without that, I guess. So if I really, really, really need a video editor, like outside of Riverside, I can use it. I have trained myself to kind of be able to get around a video editor that I use, but it's few and far between. If I need to do a quick reel and I want to make a reel, I keep it simple. I'm not, again, here's the thing I hope I'm making clear. I'm not trying to compete with other YouTubers and people that have a big staff. I'm not trying to compete with them. You don't have to compete with other artists and full-time YouTubers and video podcasts. You don't. You simply need to present your material in a way that flows with your workflow and slowly iterate over time and make it a little bit easier on yourself or try to upgrade a little bit. LaShonda's YouTube challenge has been awesome for that. I've been using some of her strategies to build my YouTube channel. I've done the same thing in my other channels that I help to run. But again, it's not that I became a video expert and I'm not becoming a video expert because that's not my goal. It's just to add it on to what I'm doing so that it becomes more and more a part of my daily creative lifestyle, my daily content calendar. And then as I add it on and I start to do things, it becomes more and more. But I would highly recommend Riverside as one of the ways that you can start to add that in. And once again, if you want to check that out, please check that link out for me. Every time I do this, I'm always like, oh gosh, I hope that link works. because I hope because I haven't checked it in a while, but I'm pretty sure that one works. Guidinggigs.com/Riverside. And again, this is for my podcasters who are thinking about, the Apple podcast thing. I would wait it out. Honestly, I'm waiting it out. I don't see any reason to switch things around to try to get my videos on Apple. Let them figure out the bugs. Let them figure out whether even people use video on Apple Podcasts. And then if it becomes a thing, position yourself where you can start adding video, but don't do it right away. There's no reason to do that. We're not even sure that Apple users want video with their podcast. They might. I might decide to use it. I don't think I'm going to. I'm doing a 60-day experiment with video and the God and Gig show. So far, I haven't seen really any big build in my discovery. And if not, if it doesn't happen like that, I'm not going to do any more extra work. That's just the way it is. Um, let's see. This is Emmanuel, I believe. He says, I've used Mojo. Okay, so you've used that for editing? Is that for editing or is that for, because I don't think I've heard of that one. But if it's all in one, then use it. Whatever keeps your workflow going, use that. You don't want to add anything that makes it more difficult. You don't want to make any kind of strategies that add on way more work than it's worth. Okay. Because that's the thing about video. It can definitely help. It's helped me immensely in terms of my content delivery, in terms of getting more comfortable with what I'm saying. My podcast, I believe, has gotten better because I'm just more careful about how I deliver the content because I know it's got to be video as well. So I'm even more organized now sometimes than I was before. However, again, I cannot let video take away from my ability to do what I do well. So if I'm always thinking about the camera, if I'm always thinking about that, I gotta turn that off. I gotta stop it. Okay. So don't let video overwhelm you. That is the number one thing that I want you to get out of this conversation. All right, awesome. Let's keep this moving. We're almost out of time. This time went super fast. Let's do this. Let's get our stinger ready, and we're going to go to our console. Oh, wait. Okay. App for short video. Oh, okay. So you use it for shorts. All right. Very interesting. Can you share that, by the way? And we might start a, quick tools and suggestions for tools for video tools. Make sure you share that if I start the thread and just say, hey, here's something I use for short video, because I would love for us to share this. See, I didn't even know about that. So this is a great way for me to learn about more tools that maybe other people are interested in and they don't know that they exist. So let's make sure to share that in the membership, man. That would be super cool. All right, let's get ready for our last segment, which will be our, we're not next to last, which will be our consult. All right, let's jump into the console. And I'm glad that Manuel is here because this literally is what I thought of when you, Manuel, when you had this conversation inside of God and Gigs. You were talking about your big move. And not only that, it was also a gig that I am helping out with, and someone has to do needs a band. And so we realized that, oh my gosh, this is a 4 hour drive for this gig. And the guys are like, "Oh my god, like I wasn't planning to drive that far." And I'm like, "Yeah, neither did I." I was not planning for that. So, my question to you is, how far would you travel for an opportunity? Um, and I guess we're gonna make the caveat of this if you're responding later on you on replay. On it for a one-time opportunity. I know, Manuel, you are taking a huge, 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 huge trip. I'm not sure how far it is from where you are now to Hawaii, but that's a big move. So I'm only talking about like an individual event. Like if somebody calls you cross country, like are you going, and is it that it has to be like a major amount of money that you have to get to go that far? Obviously, I'm talking about travel expenses, so I understand like, hey, you got to get your travel expenses covered. But some people are just like, I'm not going, overseas. I don't want to do that. I'm the person that's very, very much a homebody. I tend to not want to travel that far. And maybe that's a problem. Maybe you're gonna tell me, "Ala, this is silly. Everybody, if you get a gig opportunity, it doesn't matter how far it is, you're gonna go." But maybe I'm not alone. Maybe there are other people who are like, "Yeah, um, not too keen on doing the if it's a bus, Not too keen on doing a tour all over the country. No, not really happy. Not really happy about that. Internationally, I've had one opportunity that fell through that we could have gone to Africa, but I did all the shots, the passports, everything. And then the gig got canceled. The event got canceled. The opportunity got away. And honestly, I was like, I did a lot. That was a lot. That was a lot just for one international trip. And so I have friends of mine that are in London right now, that are in Spain right now, that are traveling internationally. They do it like it's no big deal. Maybe it's because they're used to it. But I am curious, if you're watching this on replay, how far would you travel? What's the limit? Do you have a limit of how far you would go for a specific opportunity? And again, assuming that the travel costs are paid, because I know the first thing you'll be saying, like, well, if it's paid for, I'm going to go. But we'll just do that as an assumption. Assume that it's being paid, but maybe you're just not big into traveling that far. And, if it's a drive, if it's a bus, that can be a deterrent. Maybe flying is easier, but flying, you got to deal with all the stuff. So I realized that this question might be only for me because other people are like, I'm going everywhere. Like my wife has no problem traveling. She's wouldn't well, okay, she's a homebody until she wants to go somewhere, like, and then she's like, let's go. So I am curious, and I'm going to be looking at the comments afterward to see who wants to limit their travel to certain areas. If they're not into getting out, let's see, done that it's a lot of work. Let's see what Manuel's saying here. About okay, done. That's a lot. That is a lot of work. However, I would go about 4 or 5 hours unless it's all paid. So you're saying like driving? So like 4 or 5 hours away. If it's all paid, yes, that's what I'm saying. Like if it's paid, then it like kind of kills it. But even this, the actual driving, that's what I'm saying. Like the gig that I am working on right now is like a 4 hour drive. And so far, I'm negotiating about travel compensation. And right now, there isn't any. So it's a perfect example where it's like, Um, should I be pushing for we gotta have this much, we gotta have that much, especially for gas and everything. And that's where, like I said, that's where it came to mind, thinking about you and this gig was how much would like I've done like a half a 2 hour drive, you know, both driving or fly. Okay, I see what you're saying. All right, let me make sure I pull it up. So both driving or fly, right? So flying again for me, I've done kind of a couple international gigs where we went to Mexico and things like that. And yeah, a lot of it doesn't just depends on the distance. A lot of it also has to depend on what kind of hotel are we are putting. Like, is there per diem? Like, there's so many other things to think about other than just going. So many other things. Yeah, cover gas and food. Exactly. So I think what I'm saying is the distance is honestly not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is what's included in all of that, because you have so many other things to think about other than just the performance itself. And the more you think about it, the more it becomes okay, this is more about does this fit? Is this a good fit? It's not just is it a great gig? Is this a great opportunity? Is does this make sense? And if it makes sense, then you go, right? But if it doesn't make sense, then it could be super close, and you're like, "Nah, I'm not doing all that traveling for that because other things inside the performance or the collaboration don't make sense." And that's kinda like where I'm coming at, like, there has to be, like, a major, all the pieces have to fit for you to take on a long distance performance or a long distance collaboration. I did this trip to Houston, and then I went to Atlanta, and I went to all these conferences, all because it made sense for me to do it. I was able to make the flights work. Everything made sense. Lashonda is going from Nashville to Des Moines. Like she's doing this because it makes sense and she was able to make it work. But I think a lot of us are like, okay, it has to fit my schedule and it has to fit, or else I'm not going through all this travel work just for that. Okay. Or maybe rent a car if possible. Yeah, I got you. Yep. And that's exactly what we're talking about right now in this event. Like this gig I'm talking about right now. We're trying to figure this out because it seems like it's going to be a lot more work than I thought. And so now I'm thinking about, okay, we're doing it, but it's a lot more to think about than maybe just, oh, is it, how far away is it? Okay, go. Like, nope, there's a lot more to think about. All right, we're almost to the end. This has been a great session. If you're watching online or watching on replay, I should say, everybody's watching online. If you're watching on replay, thank you for joining us. We have one little quick section to go, and that is to once again announce. So let me go back because normally we do our prescriptions, but this will be our prescriptions. So you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and share it because usually the last section, I don't need to worry about that. So I'm just going to go ahead and share what I would love for you guys to do. Go to godandgigs.com/creator dash workshop and sign up for Author Your Day. Now, if you're a member of 360, Manuel, you're part of the 360 CRC, you do not need to register. You do not need to register if you are already a CRC member. So those of you who are watching on replay, no, you don't have to sign up. You will get this, and it will be at the exact same time as this creator checkup. So next week, no creator checkup. It will be a creator workshop, which means it will only be shared with those people who have registered. Okay. However, if you would like to join us, go to godandgigs.com/creator workshop dash workshop and pay the $10 if you want to just get the single ticket. Or what I would recommend is go to godandgigs.com/membership or godandgigs.com/CRC and join our, let's see, let's make sure this is the right one. Yes, godandgigs.com/create a workshop. That is what takes you to the workshop itself to sign up. However, as I mentioned, it would make a lot of sense for simply to go to godandgigs.com/membership and sign up for the CRC. And that is the Creator Resource Center. And you can get in this workshop plus get all the other workshops for just $17 a month. That means you never pay extra to get to all of the workshops, and you have access to all of the replays, and you get access to our app, and you get access to conversations with people like like Manuel and Charmaine and Wendy and Simony and Pamela and Anita and all of our friends who are there inside of 360. It's just a greater value than the one time. Although Julie's going to be amazing. She's going to help you with our time management, which once again, our 360 members asked for help with time management. So I am super, super grateful that we can actually give them what they need. That's exactly what it is for. And we also have our member call for the gold members on Monday night. So they're going to get double dose. They're going to get their creative workshop and they're going to get their group coaching call all together on Monday night. So they get Monday, then Friday. So super, super, super stoked. It's going to be a great week. Going to be a great end of the month for our month of February. But as I've been mentioning, if you want to simply attend this one workshop, yes, you can go simply by going to godandgigs.com slash creator workshop. I love this. Manuel says, even me moving to Miami, I'm staying in God and Gigs. I love it. Amen. Thank you, man. No matter where you are in the world, although you will be in, I don't know what Hawaii time is. That's a situation we have to figure out. So in Hawaii, is it Pacific? I don't know, guys. Somebody help me out. Do the Google search real quick. Somebody ask ChatGPT what time zone you will be in because our 1 o'clock Eastern will now become, I think, probably a morning time, right? It'll probably be 9. So if you're going to join us on the live streams, you're going to have to come in at 9 o'clock or something like that. Although you're already out west. You're already out west, I think. So you may be used to this. All right. But either way, I just wanted you to be, again, blessed and thankful for you for staying in God and Gigs and being a member of our community. And everybody else that's watching, once again, you can be a part of this community too. Our app, everything that we're sharing right now is available to you if you join us at godandgigs.com/membership. But of course, we always invite you to be a part of our free things as well, which is our podcast, our godandgigs.com/podcast, as well as our newsletter. That's also free, godandgigs.com/newsletter. It's always easy to find these things. godandgigs.com/the thing, right? That's one good thing about having the URL is that every time I add a URL, all I have to do is just say, hey, go to slash and then the thing, right? You want the podcast? It's slash podcast. You want the newsletter? Slash newsletter. You want YouTube? Slash YouTube. You want to go to the workshop? Slash creator dash workshop. Okay. So we try to keep it easy that way so you can find everything that we're doing. But That's all there is. There is no more. We've had an amazing talk. We've had amazing conversations. So let me go ahead and let you guys go and finally get over here big. And thank you so much once again for joining our God and Gigs Creator Checkup. Remember, Tuesday will be our next podcast episode. Then on Friday, again, we will not be here live publicly. We will be here live privately for those who are coming to the workshop. So I suggest you guys get your ticket. CRC members and gold members, you do not need to get a ticket. You're good. So we will see you guys then. God bless you. And until next time, continue to become the creator that you were created to be. We'll see you next week in the workshop.